Hi everybody. Letting agents charging a percentage on the on managing repairs. Is this okay, or is this an okay thing for an agent to do, or not an okay thing for an agent to do? I'm Harvey, I'm a remote property investor, but I'm also a letting agent, but I'm a landlord first, and I'm a property investor, landlord, well not landlord say, but I'm a property investor / landlord first, and a letting agent second. So I can come to this with a perspective and a view from being in both ships, but especially a view from being an investor first. I'm a very reluctant letting agent as well at that. I'm enjoying it now as we're building it into a systemized business, but it's something we kind of took on by default. And yeah, it probably wasn't definitely wasn't the wisest decision I ever made in my business, but we're here with that decision now, running with it. So what's your views on this, guys? Do you think it's okay I'll reveal what I do as an agent at the end of it, but do you think it's okay for agents to charge a percentage on the repair? What's your thoughts, guys? Put it in the comments. It's been quite an active post. It's a post by, I'll read the post out by. He says, I'm a small landlord who manages my own property, but also run a building company. We carry out various works for a couple of agents amongst other customers. Yesterday, I received an email from an agent. Obviously, there have been changes regarding agency fees, etc. I have no idea how many agents have adopted this, but for those of you who use an agent, I would suggest getting an estimate for the work directly, not via the agent. You may find you are able to save yourself money. This cost will be put on you, the landlord. Contractors are unlikely to pay this cost without adding it onto their quote. Below is the email. So I hope you are well. Just a quick email to advise you that we will be deducting £25 or minimum 10%, whichever is greater, for all of your future invoices to cover our increased cost of managing and administrating your jobs, and increasing cost of systems we employ to manage and process your job. This is not an additional charge to our client. This is a management and administration fee to you and your business. So please adjust your invoices as you see fit to cover your increased cost of work on each job for us. Contact me if you have any questions. So what are your views on this, guys? Do you think that is okay? So this guy has obviously said go directly, but what you've got to understand is obviously it's going to be a cost to you, but there's a time cost to you also if you went directly to trades, you know. So there's two sides of this stick to look at, you know. What are your thoughts, guys? Do you think this is an okay thing for agents to do, or not an okay thing for agents to do? I'll tell you what we do as an agent, and as I said, bearing in mind I've got my landlord, I've got my investor / landlord hat on first when I opened my agency. My agency got opened as a bit of a default. We just started buying loads of properties. We started managing a few. Before you knew it, we had more than a few, and then we had a bit of a mess with it. At one point, I did try to outsource this because I created such a mess of doing this, because it wasn't my love. It wasn't nothing I desired. I just thought we'd have an income from it. And in fact, I found the really hard way that it's not an easy income. And this is the biggest point that I really understood with this and got an understanding of this is, wow, the lettings agency business is tough. It's a really tough industry. The 10% margin, because this is what people say, this is the argument I'm guessing. And as I said, I'm coming from an investor first. My passion in the property business is investing and being a property investor. My passion in lettings now is the fact it's a business. I'm not passionate about managing tenants, but I like business, and I've liked the fact that we've structured it into systems and processes and procedures, which takes a massive amount of effort and time, effort and time, that's it. So time is always money. So if you're managing trades yourself, you've got to factor in your time cost of doing that. And there's a lot of elements that go with that, which I'll discuss in a minute. I've made a load of notes for this one. But as I said, remember all the way when I'm discussing this, it's just my views as well, by the way, guys. But when I'm discussing this, I am an investor first, not an agent. So I'm not trying to give a biased view from an agent. I'm an investor that started up an agency. But there is a massive amount of effort. So when the 10% thing come out, that was probably about 20, 30, 40 years ago. I'm not sure how long ago this 10% little sort of benchmark of we'll manage your properties and we want 10%. But when this come out, whenever it was, whether it's 30, 40 years ago, it's been around for as long as I've ever known. When it come out, all you had to do to manage a property literally was go down to WH Smith, get a AST, fill it out, sign it, move a tenant in, that was it. Tenant's not paying, you could pretty much just kick them out and just say get out, change your locks, and that was it. There was no laws around protecting tenants, there was no laws around the compliance and everything like that. So it was so much easier to manage tenants back then. Yet landlords all happily paid 10% for that level of service for years. Over the last sort of 5 to 8 years, about 5 to 6 years, the increased level of compliance just in the private rental sector alone has gone exponentially through the roof. So all agents is coming. I'm not sure the exact date, and the letting. I'm always in a battle with my operations manager of my lettings because I've always got a landlord hat on and an investor's hat on when we discuss things and we're discussing fees and doing stuff. But we've gone off. I manage my lettings company. Well, we started managing property just for my investors, not as an agent or anything. So I was buying properties, buying for myself, buying for my investors, and we just was managing them in-house. And as I said, we turned it into quite a bit of a mess. But as a result, I tried outsourcing it, I tried finding a good agent, and when I interviewed them and qualified them, disqualified them, I didn't find one I liked. And that's one thing, like I see a lot of comments in here, there's one thing, there's good and bad agents out there. So you've got to qualify and disqualify them. Like anything else a human being's involved with, whether that's an agent, a builder, a solicitor, an accountant, you're going to get good and bad versions of it. The thing with builders and agents previously, the barrier of entry was so low, like you didn't have no exams, all you had to do is literally, before, I don't even think you needed that much level of indemnity and insurances and that. The insurance levels you need today for money client protection, money client account, paying money for that money client account, the indemnity insurances, you have to be registered with a redress scheme. Straight away from a standing start point, every year, you're at a start point where you're paying a lot of money out. Then all the systems and processes you need, like the CRM systems and the different marketing systems, the right moves and all these different things to advertise the properties, it costs a hell of a lot of money to get all them in place. And if you haven't got them in place, you're not streamlined and slick enough, so you really, really need them. So the cost of managing property, the responsibility of managing property and the compliance and everything of managing property has gone up exponentially from the time when it used to be charged 10%. So I've managed my I hope when you admit this, my letting side of it nearly buckled me a few times in my business and nearly bankrupted me a few times and nearly dragged us under, and I had to slow down buying properties and really working this. And what we got a business coach. Couldn't find anybody. If I'd have found him when I was searching agents, I would have used him without a shadow of doubt. If I'd have found him when I was looking for a coach for this, I'd have made him my coach as well. But we couldn't find a coach, so we went with a business coach. And then later on that year, we stumbled across a lady called Sally Lawson, who's really great in that space as well. So we've done some individual training with her, but we'd already had a coach. Like this was over, like this is like a coach where it was one-on-one stuff, and we just structuring our business in like from systems to processes, high-end procedures, our values, our mission statements. So we had a coach working with us on the lettings company solely. And one of the exercises we've done on there was run a time in motion study on what the things was, and we were studying other businesses. So when I was looking at some of these online ones charging 6%, I was like, wow, we're looking at the time and effort it takes to put all the procedures in together, and we're like, how do people make money? And the way a lot of these agents make money is now not just purely, if you just set up and just try charging 10% and you got any volume, I'm pretty much sure, unless you was running it yourself, if you try to run it as a business where it could operate without you, it would run at a loss. You need to earn money from, and here it comes, guys, this is my conclusion and answer. You need to earn money from getting commissions, from solicitors as well, and insurers, and all these other elements in there, from energy providers. All these parts padded in really is what makes these businesses survive today, because they won't survive with all the level of regulations if they run them correctly. So you've got two choices when you go to an agency. It's very much like when you fly on an aircraft. You can go to Ryanair, which I love them because they openly admit, like O'Leary just says, listen, we're not going to give you bells and whistles. We're going to give you cheap flights. If you want cheap flights and you don't want us to go out of business, this is what you get. You don't get leg room. You don't get a meal on there. If you want a meal and leg room, just go and pay extra money, and that's it. He's just totally honest about it. And this is where loads of businesses do go out of business as well. Is they try to compete on price, and they also try to compete on service. If you want a good service, you have to pay for it. And getting good builders and finding reliable builders and managing them builders takes time and effort. Like, you've got to factor in the time to find a good builder, trial and error them. So as a good agency, this is what happens with a good agency. They'll try and error 3 builders. If one of the builders mess up in between that, they pay for the mess up and don't pass it on to the landlord because they're trying them out. And then the effort it takes going on there, trying them, finding them, pre-qualifying them, make sure they're compliant. Then manage a lot of the smaller ones that are cheaper, ain't very good at invoicing. So managing and chasing up the invoices and everything, so that the actual landlord's got that. Takes a massive amount of management in between, you know. And it wasn't until, like, as I said, I didn't pay attention. I had a very, very much investor's hat on when we started this. So there was hardly any fees in there. We didn't charge for anything. And even now, I'm constantly in a battle with my operations manager because she goes off and does the more training. She runs that side of it, and she's obviously, she gets it. She done some training the other day with Sally Lawson, really big trainer in that space, and she's come back and said, look, we need to do this, we need to look at that. And I'm still got I'm battling with her because I've got my investor hat on. But the reality is of it, if you want to run a letting agency as a proper business, unless you run it yourself, that's not a proper business. But then you've got to look at your time cost. It takes time and effort. If you want to manage your own properties and you want to manage trades, you've got to think about things like the compliance. I think even in landlords now, you've got to think about the training levels that you've got to get your staff to, and the cost of getting them through, like the level 4 of management. All these things are extra cost. I believe people that are going to manage your own properties very soon are going to have to go through like this level of training as well, get to level 4. But little things like this, if you get a repair from a tenant, you have to document that. It has to be documented. So say if a tenant phones you up and you answer the phone and you say, okay, yep, leaky tap, let's phone up Bob the plumber. Bob, get round there, fix that leaky tap. Fix, no problem. All of a sudden, tenant stops paying money. You take them to court if you can get them in court at the moment. And bear in mind, a lot of agents stop this from going there. Good agents really reduce these cases down. But if you get it into court, if you can get in there at the moment with the backlog and the 6 months waiting to get him into court, what happens is, if you haven't got a documentation to prove that you repaired that repair, and they go to court and say they didn't make a repair, the court kicks it out and says go away and prove it. So you have to have all this documentation. If you've got this for our system, we use FixFlow, so this automatically acknowledges that repair, which we could in court, if we was in court, which luckily enough, because we manage it well at the front end, we don't get to court. Not saying we never would, but we avoid this really well because of the systems and process gone in place to manage that. You could just easily on your software just go, boom, here you go, here judge, just pull that straight up because you've got that right software there, and it's done it automatically for you every single time, not leaving it down to chance for human error. As I said, managing repairs is a full-on job. Maybe if you've got one property, it don't seem that much, but if you've got loads of them, managing them correctly, getting the right trades, fighting for the right trades that don't overcharge. Yeah, there is bad agents out there just to set. This is the thing. This is the challenge I was in when I was trying to outsource it to an agent. Is I found good letting agents. You've got 2 types of agents. You've got your little boutique ones, or you've got your corporate ones. And this is where I really admire John Paul's stuff, because he is setting into a corporate structure in a big company. He's going big with this, but he's still got great ethics, morals, systems, values. It's value-driven company with all these staff as well, and he's not losing that with the staff members he gets. What you find with all these massive chains is because there has been no qualification in the past for a letting agent. The person sitting on the taking the phone calls, they just got a bit of admin skills, and they've got no desire at a property, so they're not really got to bother about it. They ain't really got any skill or knowledge in property. They just apply for a job that requires admin skills. They've got a job. They don't want tenants shouting at them, because you've got to imagine the back end of it as well. If us as an agent, what we're doing is constantly battling between the agent and the landlord, because what we want to do is get the landlord the best prices. But sometimes that takes a little bit of time and effort. Then the agent, the tenant is then moaning at the back end because they're not getting their job done quick enough. So yeah, there's a constant there's a constant play between the two, but there's not a lot of margin in lettings, not in lettings alone. You just charge 10% and you set up the systems and you pay for the right moves and you pay for all these platforms and you do all the stuff you're meant to do. There is pretty much no margin in there whatsoever. This model is an old model charging 10%. So if you want to be compliant and have to hassle and running back and forwards and trades not turning up and then phoning up more trades and going on check a trade, then you've got to understand there is an opportunity and time cost towards that. Obviously, the systems that good agents have of chasing rents and making sure they stay on top of that as well. As you've got to factor in if you start taking this stuff on yourself. So going back to where I was with that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there and gone on a little bit of a tangent with that. But yeah, when I was trying out loads of agencies, I found big corporates, there's somebody on there, leaky tap, they'd just accept it with 250 and just get the job off their plate because they didn't want to be shouted out by the tenant, and they just accept this and they're not really got no desire at it. So they had really good systems and processes within the company. That's what you massively need for lettings. You have to have strong systems and processes. You have to have management places. You have to have audit checks like within your company to make sure certain compliance is getting done all the time. You have to have key performance indicators for all your staff. They have to have weekly meetings to make sure they're hitting the key performances and hitting all the things that you have to do within there. So good, big companies had all these systems and the training stuff for their staff, but they had no passion and nobody on there dealing with that with passion. Then you went to the small boutique one, which dealt with it with passion and loved what they was doing and had great staff around them because they had a drive and passion which leaks down into your company and into your staff, and you get a followership from that, but no systems and procedures documented. So as they was growing, there was a recipe of their own success because they're so good and so passionate. They get loads of referrals, and as they're getting big on referrals, they're breaking as a business because it's all in the leader's head and the main owner's head, and the staff around them are just following them. But as they get more staff, it just don't happen unless you've got procedures and documented. And again, that comes at a massive cost. As I said, you're a one-man band managing like 20 properties or 50 properties, and that's your full-time job, or managing 100 properties. You can run it well like that, but if you start going beyond them, you start getting to 150, 200 properties, you've got to hire that in, and you've not got that documented procedures and processes, which costs money, which costs you time in management. And if you run it as a business, costs you managers to step over that, then you're going to start losing money and losing your what's the word I'm looking for? But losing your service levels as well, you know. And it's a classic thing that happens not just in agents, in every business. You get builders. This is how I go through so many builders. They're really good. We scale them up, but they're great when they're running a job with their men on the job. They scale up, try running 3 jobs, and then don't understand business. If anybody's ever read the E-Myth, businesses is more than just running that job. But builders are usually running one job at a time, setting up one invoice, one quote, and just having their team on there while they're there. They're fine. But when they're running multiple jobs, multiple quotes, multiple invoices, they've then got to be an admin clerk, they've then got to be a bookkeeper, they've then got to be a manager, and that's when they end up folding, and that's how I end up breaking relationships. So, but all businesses, this happens to businesses, their success can be their curse if they ain't systemised correctly. But most businesses just really overlook the systemisation of their business. They don't document what they're doing. They've not got procedures in place to document that, because to be quite frank, it's boring. Most people ain't excited about that. Most entrepreneurs ain't excited about writing down their procedure manuals, you know. So yeah, this is the place you'll go with it. But I think you're quite clear to get my answer. Yeah, I think it's fully fair if agents charge a percentage, the right agents, if they charge a percentage and doing their job well, make sure they're keeping the price down, make sure they're not just accepting the first quote that comes in just to keep it easy and off their books, and make sure they get good fair trades at fair prices. That takes a massive effort. We've just lost one of our handyman at the moment, and we're going through handymen, and we'll just try one out who was too much money. One of them was too much money, and we compensated the landlord back because we knew it was too much money, but we needed to get it fixed there and then, you know. And we're overworking the other guy we've got because we like to have a balance of them, and getting that right person takes a time, effort, a relationship building, showing them that you're showing them that you're reliable as well, because trades want to work with reliable agents, because there's a lot of shoddy agents out there as well. And the thing is with agents, because the level of entry, the barrier of entry was so low over the years, and the rewards was high. Back then the rewards was really high when they had to do it all, and nobody moaned about it then. Now they've got to do loads, everybody moans about it. Oh, they're earning money from it. It's like, yeah, well, they're doing something to earn that money, you know. Like, and as I said, this is me coming from an investor hat, you know, so I've seen the inside of it. On the outside, you just think, what are you doing? You're just collecting money. The easier they collect money, the better their systems are finding good tenants and getting them in correctly. Just the software we use alone, just to chase the tenants' rent, but also this is used to pay the investors. Pay the landlords. Also used to pay the contractors. There's also another software we use. The software we use just for our maintenance alone is about £130 a month. Our software for the payment system for this is about £350 a month. As I said, then you tag on, it's probably about £1,500 a year alone just for the insurances. Then you've got to tag on the CRM system we use is not the most fandabidosi one as well, because we're just a small agency. That's about £100 a month. Then you look at there's loads. Zero that goes just for your personal accounts that run with that. That's just at your standing start still. You know, there's so much that goes in with it. And yes, you can manage it yourself, but look at your time cost of managing that. And look at your time cost of finding these builders, vetting them, making sure you have documented every repair you've done and you've got that saved somewhere in case it goes to court, making sure you do all the other compliance. So yeah, there's a hell of a lot more to it. As I said, I'm in a battle all the time with my operations manager because I have got my landlord's hat on. And at the start, we wasn't charging any fees and I was just losing money. And in the end, we had to say to our landlords, look, it's up to you. We can manage these for you, but we have to earn some money out of it. If we don't earn any money out of it, all this is an expensive pain, because it's quite painful as well, managing trades and tenants, you know. Getting that between them two can be well painful, especially some trade don't turn up. And they don't work for you directly. Who's they on the phone to moaning when the trade don't turn up, when they say they're going to turn up? You. Or vice versa. The trade turns up and the tenant's not in. Who's the trade moaning at? You know, like, so yeah, there's more that meets the eye to managing tenants and managing repairs. And the repairs part of it is probably one of the hardest parts of it. Please, if you're enjoying this content, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, and that subscribe button really helps push this out to many more people to enjoy this also, and so you can be notified for when more videos like this are being released. As I said, mine's a reluctant view, but without a shadow of doubt, if you get the correct agent, it's 100% fair if they're running it correctly and running a good service. But we offer different levels. If you want a lesser service, pay the lesser one, but you're just going to pay that in your service. Again, if you, a lot of these online charge 6%, but they get their money back from the repairs, by the way, because I was shocked. How can they charge 6%? Because their repairs are ridiculous money, you know. So, and they do get a percentage of that, and they get loads of money back off the back of that. So you just got to look at what level of service you want. But if you want a good service in the agency today, you've got to understand that they will charge commission on things, and they will charge a good percentage. And that's the cost of getting a good service. But you've got to look at it. Is that a cost of what you're paying now? The cost, like Garrison was saying about it, but the cost of getting a bad tenant wrecking your house or not paying is hell of a lot more than that in the middle, and the level you need to get to avoid that or minimalise it, because you don't totally avoid it, but to minimalise it takes a lot of effort and work. But remember, guys, you don't evolve your ideas, you never live on your own terms. See you next Saturday and have a fantastic weekend.